bit later on. But before all of that, transfers. Jurrël Quansah has suddenly surfaced as a potential target for Arsenal. So we'll kick off with that one with our senior football correspondent, Ben Jacobs. Hello, Ben.
Good afternoon.
So, the likelihood of this in your eyes, what are you hearing?
Yeah, I think Arsenal want a centre-back. They've made no secret of that since the injury to William Saliba. And now Jurrël Quansah has become an option. Leverkusen don't want to sell. Liverpool, when they sold him, had this buyback clause of 70 million euros, but it's expired. Doesn't really inform the valuation. Arsenal's perspective here is essentially Quansah might be cheaper than Ezri Konsa. Still, if they can get the Aston Villa defender, it appears to be the preferred option. And yet it's all about the money, because Arsenal's valuation of Konsa at Villa has been only around £30 million. Some sources say they could go up to 40, and yet Villa wants 60 plus. Quansa's cheaper, and with time running out in the window, Arsenal have generated themselves more than one option and a bit of leverage. And now let's see whether they make that bid to Leverkusen to try and get the more economical option. And Quansa would be keen on the move. Or if they take that possibility back to Aston Villa and see if they can drive down the asking price for Quansah. And it's another example, as I think we said yesterday, of when you're trying to do a deal, Premier League, bringing in a player from outside, it's one number and valuation. But when you're dealing in Premier League to Premier League, more evidence that we're in a very inflated market.
Well, we see that in selling overseas. You know, if you're selling to a Premier League club from Premier League, there's a premium. But we're seeing with Jed Spence at the moment that there's only so much even a big club like Inter Milan are prepared to pay.
Yeah, so this deal is being formalised today, and Spence is going to join for a total package of 35 million euros, of which roughly slightly over 30 million is the guaranteed fee. And if you think about the World Cup that he had, coupled with the fact that Tottenham was seeking over 40 million euros at the beginning of the window, it is, as you rightly say, a clear indication that even some of the big Champions League type clubs are not prepared to enter into this inflated market. And yet, of course, at the end of the window, there's urgency. It was obviously a saga that Tottenham realised they had to resolve because Spence wanted to go and be a starter somewhere. And yet now Tottenham have to potentially assess the market for a fullback replacement, and time is running out. And it's not just about the fee for Spence, which is slightly less than Tottenham would have liked. It's also about whether now they themselves have to overpay to bring someone else through the door.
I mean, they have some cover at right back. They certainly have cover at left back. But at right back, really, it is only Archie Gray. So you're right. If they go back into the market and they want Premier League ready, and De Zerbi has said that he wants two good players for every position, then they're likely to be paying more than that, Ben, aren't they?
Yeah, and also this isn't, when we say inflated market, necessarily something that all clubs are behind. Liverpool have been very disciplined so far, and so have Arsenal, but Tottenham have kind of broken the market in a very positive way from their perspective, but in a very negative one that's got repercussions for other Premier League clubs. And the reality is that if you're Tottenham Hotspur and you're out there having paid, which is so exciting for fans, 100 million for Tonali, 85 million for Mateus Fernandes, 52 million for Jan-Paul van Hecke with 1 year left on his contract, and so on, to try and find value when you're buying in particular is really tough. And unless you get like two-way business, where they went to Atleti, for example, and said, can we get anything out of the Romero deal, or Inter, can we bring in a player out of the Spence deal? You're suddenly in a situation where everyone knows Tottenham have got money, everyone knows they're looking to make a statement for Roberto De Zerbi, and everybody knows that ultimately they're going to do more business between now and the end of the window. So it'll be intriguing to see who they sign. And as you say, there's trust in Archie Gray to also cover at right back as well. But this is just this crazy Premier League window, and Tottenham have to almost resign themselves, in my opinion, to the fact that their tactic here isn't necessarily about getting value financially off fees, because in fairness, you can amortise them, and over a course of time, it doesn't make a great deal of difference. Tottenham's tactic is just to buy, be ambitious, and support Roberto De Zerbi in the hope that this statement window can lead to a statement season.
Yeah.
Someone suggested that Jim White should get out his yellow tie for Enzo Fernandez.
Yes, is it Enzo Fernandez Day? The clock's ticking, as Jim would say.
It's my club, but it's a really daft thing to do. I mean, everybody knows if City come in on next Thursday with 120 million, he'll go. They won't say, no, sorry, you didn't do it last Friday.
I thought Sam Matterface made a good point earlier. I don't think there's a particularly great relationship in the fact that Maresca's gone. We know that Chelsea weren't happy about the way he left. I don't think that. I think they're probably making it as difficult as possible.
Yes, and they want clarity because it's this bigger thing, as you rightly say, between Chelsea and Man City. And Chelsea's perspective, even though it's kind of denied by Man City sources, is that Maresca knew he had the Man City job. Maresca left after a formal approach from Man City. That was a distraction, even though those close to Maresca and City say, how could that have been the case? Because no one knew at that point that Pep Guardiola was definitively leaving. Then add to the fact that Enzo Fernandez, in an international break, was flirting with Madrid, and Chelsea had to give him a 2-game suspension, and that in itself wasn't ideal either. And now we're in a situation where Chelsea don't want this to be a deadline day saga. Chelsea don't want Man City to get all aggressive when they don't have time to potentially add a replacement. And Chelsea don't want to kick off against Fulham, not knowing whether Enzo Fernandez is in or out, because the new manager, Xabi Alonso, will be asked about it. If he picks Enzo Fernandez, is he definitely staying? If he didn't pick Enzo Fernandez or start him, a whole barrage of questions. And yet the irony is not lost on Man City that Chelsea went big on Enzo Fernandez when he was at Benfica at the beginning of a January window, and they only closed the deal with 5 minutes to spare at the end of that January window, and Benfica were not really that happy about it. So the window's the window. You're perfectly entitled to use all time in the window, but Chelsea's perspective is this is saga over if they don't receive a written bid by 5 p.m. today.
Victor Osimhen has been linked to Spurs, to Arsenal, to a number of other clubs. What are the chances, you think, of him leaving Galatasaray in this window?
I think there's a fair chance at the end of this that Victor Osimhen actually stays, even though the Tottenham links are part of their wider search for a forward. And yet my info there is Cody Gakpo and Savinho for Spurs, if they can possibly pull those two off. Wage is still a bit of an issue with Victor Osimhen, even though Tottenham are showing they're prepared to break their wage structure. So yes, Tottenham want a 9, but nothing advanced yet with Victor Osimhen. And yet for Arsenal, because Galatasaray want Gabriel Martinelli and have been speaking about Ethan Nwaneri, Victor Osimhen has come up. And I think that's normal as part of a very early stage negotiation. But the challenge again is what Victor Osimhen wants in terms of wage and bonuses, agent commissions. And if reports are to be believed, Galatasaray have already turned a very lucrative bid, far more than Arsenal would be prepared to pay from Al Hilal. So I sense there's a bit of games here. And then regarding Martinelli, Galatasaray basically want either Rafa Leao or Gabriel Martinelli. And as we revealed on TalkSport on Sunday, there was an approach to Arsenal from Galatasaray. Since then, there's been a bid of 45 million euros at the time we're live. That's not been answered. And some of the reason why is Martinelli will need a lot of convincing to go to Turkey. The same for Ethan Nwaneri as well. So a lot of bluster and, in theory, some mutually beneficial business. But the practical realities of the cost of Osimhen, coupled with the fact that both those Arsenal players need to change their position on Turkey, means that actually nothing might happen regarding any of these players.
For now, thank you, Ben. As always, have a good weekend.
You too.
Ben Jacobs, senior football correspondent at TalkSport with the latest on the transfer window. There'll be more transfer chat throughout the day. We'll keep an eye on